Hello, everybody. Well, welcome back to our program, Reconstructing Nigeria and Nigerians. For us to be able to reconstruct Nigeria and make it a great country, we must be able to raise up the right set of people that will be able to build that country. And one of the ways to do that is to raise up men or sons instead of children. Right now in Nigeria, I'm not talking about children in terms of the age. I'm talking about children in maturity. I'm talking about children in their perception of life. I'm talking about children in terms of philosophy of life, in terms of their value systems, and in terms of worldview. So only men and sons can raise up a nation, can build a nation. Children are not able to do so. It is a tragedy to find a land whose leaders are children. When your leaders, when people who are supposed to be leading the country, who are the most civilized people in the country, the elite of the country, and the political elite, the religious elite of the country, the leaders, the fathers of the land, and the fathers of their families, the husbands, the fathers, when they are children, that is the biggest tragedy that could hit any land. When any country when any country is ruled by people that are grown up in their body, but they are children in their mind, then that land is destined for chaos, for poverty, for catastrophe, for all kinds of chaotic manifestation on a daily basis. And that's what we are seeing today. That country will come to a place of destruction sooner or later if the men of the land don't arise and they don't begin to raise up the next generation of responsible men. One of the ways to differentiate a man from a boy or from a child is the ability to take responsibility. When you don't have men that are ready to take responsibility for the community they live in, for the society they live in, for the country they live in, then destruction, sorrow, woes, and curses are the inevitable manifestation of that lack of responsibility. When you see people in Nigeria or in any country living in opulence, they are the leaders, they live in opulence, they live in abundance, they have everything, but they are not taking responsibility for their immediate community, they are not taking responsibility for their country, and the majority of the people in the country are living in poverty, they are living in pain, they are living on less than $2 a day. That's a manifestation and a proof to you that the leaders of such a land are not leaders, are not grown-up men, they are children in their mind. It takes lack of extraordinary lack of responsibility not to be able to take responsibility as a leader for the people that you see that are living worse than you yourself. So one thing that we must look out for in a country like that is that country is doomed or condemned unless something is urgently done. When the leaders and the elite of a country are feasting in the morning, that their emphasis is on pleasure. When the emphasis of a nation is on pleasure, dancing, partying, morning till evening, every day of the week, people know. When you look at the magazines and the newspapers, and you look at the media, the television and the films of the country, and what you see is pleasure, is emphasis on pleasure, on feasting. When the leaders are more interested in going to parties and going to festivities, well, that is what you see. When those things happen, it's a proof that the leaders of this country, they are feasting in the morning. The elite, when I talk about the leaders, I'm not just talking about the political leaders, I'm talking about the elite. When the elite's emphasis is more on pleasure than on hard work, more on pleasure than on creativity, more on pleasure than on innovation and invention, then you see why poverty is the natural consequences of that kind of lifestyle, in a country like that. So when the leaders, the political leaders, the religious leaders, the economic leaders emphasize pleasure over work, when they emphasize pleasure over labor, when they emphasize pleasure over diligence, then you see that the country is heading to catastrophe. When we place more emphasis on pleasure than on self-denial, when the leaders of our people are placing more emphasis on pleasure than on self-denial, when they are placing more emphasis on instant gratification than on processes and procedures, when they don't pay attention to discipline and due process, when they don't emphasize processes and they don't teach it and procedure to their people, that land is heading to self-destruction. And that's exactly what our country, Nigeria, and many other countries in Africa are like today. When the priests of the land, the kings of the land, the elites of the land are more interested in pleasuring themselves in what they could get from the government, from the position that they have, that country is heading for catastrophe. When people are, not emphasizing perseverance, not emphasizing endurance, not emphasizing processes, procedure, then, the obvious thing is tragedy. National level tragedy is going to hit that country. When the leaders of a nation are feasting in the morning, that's where you see corruption, because they want to feast, they want to take care of themselves. Everybody is stealing everywhere because they are being driven by the desire to please themselves rather than by desire to deny themselves and to persevere, to go through the process, to endure hardship, and to build a great country for themselves. So these are the kind of things that bring about doom to countries, when the leaders and the priests and the kings of the land are childish in their thinking and in their behavior and in their lifestyle. When the people who are supposed to be the elite of a country lack foresight, they don't think about the future, they don't think about vision, they are not thinking about development, they are not teaching the next generation and building a system that will facilitate development of that country. Well, that's why that country will be full of catastrophe and destruction and chaos. It is an abomination when even the spiritual leaders of this country are behaving like children, when the pastors are behaving like children, when the leaders of churches are building mansions and at the expense of the poor people, and the poor people around them that they are pastoring cannot even attend their schools. Those are childish children. When they are building universities from the money that these people have given, and these same people cannot go to those children, these are children. When the spiritual leaders of a country are like children, then that country is dying, and that country is falling apart. The catastrophe is what people will be seeing everywhere in that country. It is an error for pastors and leaders, and not just pastors but imams and just leaders, either they are spiritual leaders or they are elite leaders or political leaders, when they focus only on building their own empire, building their own houses, their own mansions, when they are focused on building their own fences across their and over their land, then that country, that country is going to be in economic war, economic recession, and but they will be prospering even though the country is in economic recession. That is childishness. It is childishness when these people are building mansions, when people around them are living in poverty. Well, that's what we need to change. We need to begin to raise up a new generation of people that will be mature in their thinking, that will be responsible in their thinking, and that will be thinking more of how to build great nations. These are sons, these are men, people that will be able to be taught that it is about other people, not about themselves. People that will embrace stewardship, that will know that service is the whole essence of life. And that is what make the whole country to turn around and become a great country. Right now, when the leaders are like children, they are the ones who are prospering. They are the ones who have money. They are the ones who are living big, while every other person around them will be living in poverty. These are as a result of childishness. Pastors or leaders who have become like children, who are children in their mind. That's why there is this number of poverty, the number of troubles and pains that we see all around us today is as a result of the leadership that is not responsible, that are children inside them, in their mind, in their heart, and in their spirit. So nobody is really qualified to be a leader until they have shown signs of maturity, that they are sons and that they are men. And the only way to show that is through your stewardship, through your service, and through you taking responsibility, not just for yourself, but for the people around you and for your community and for the nation at large. And when that is obvious that you are not living for yourself, but you are living for the good of for others, then we could affirm that you are a son now and you are a man. Then you could be elevated to the position of a leader. Otherwise, it will be the same thing that we've always had. Grown-up men who are really children in their minds. So one of the solutions of reconstructing Nigeria is to stop raising children as leaders, but to begin to raise up men, sons, as leaders of our nation. For the love of God, church and nation. Peace.